So maybe that definition of dentist or doctor doesn't have to be so rigid. Maybe you're the dentist that brings balloon art into your practice. Or maybe you're the dancing dentist. Or maybe you're the doctor who sings to her patients. Hello and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I am your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a great day. And today is going to be a day of enormous new realization and insight. It just is. And once again, because every day has that possibility and that opportunity, I had a huge realization about myself in terms of squeezing myself into a box. And I can't wait to share that insight with you in terms of how we do it in our profession. We're talking about when we create for ourselves a single definition of who we are, when we attach ourselves to a one-dimensional version of who we are, we not only miss out on the glorious bounty and abundance of who we are, but we actually rob ourselves of happiness. We actually find ourselves feeling more disempowered. So what do I mean? Just this past couple weeks, I have been focusing on a project and so excited to see this come to fruition. It's something I've been dreaming of for a while. I am pouring lots of insight and inspiration into it, and a lot of creativity. And in the past couple of weeks, I've had to shut it down and actually no longer pursue that line. And really what had gone into it was a lot of research, a lot of detail, I put some money towards it, quite a bit of money towards it, taken time away from my other work, from my family, to really invest in this one line, this one creative idea. And it became very clear that I needed to choose a different path. What happened was, I had already attached my identity onto this new construct, this new idea of what I was going to create, what I was going to put out there in the world. And I found myself feeling really low. I found myself feeling defeated. And then suddenly that kind of perspective bled onto other things in my life, as does negative self-talk, right? Hasn't that happened to you before, where you hear yourself saying, or maybe you're not even aware, but your voice in your head starts berating you or putting you down for something, and then it finds negativity in all aspects of your life? Well, what I realized was the way to pull myself out of that was to recognize all the facets in my life that I was really proud of, all the other parts of me that I was cultivating and really appreciating and being recognized for, not just outside of myself, but within myself as well. And this idea of us being multifaceted really supported me in finding my peace and my happiness again. So looking back over time, can you remember a moment or a time in your life when maybe you attached yourself or squeezed yourself into a box that defined who you were? Imagine for a moment the athlete who imagines himself as this great athlete. He really is a very accomplished athlete. He's getting lots of evidence. He's winning races. He's a great athlete. And then he injures his leg. Maybe even puts him out of the game for good. Maybe he tears something, or there's some kind of a coming pain or incident in his body that really prevents him from pursuing this incredible career that he'd always imagined he'd have in whatever sport he was playing. And then realizing that that identity that he had created for himself within that one box was now an indicator of his lack of worth. How often we do that with our professions. How often we do that in medicine and dentistry as well. There's so many parts to our medicine and dental practices, but we really tend to attach ourselves to that identity. I am Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, right? And when we attach ourselves to one very singular, one-dimensional plane, it limits us. And if anything were to test or challenge that identity, it forces us to feel less worthy about ourselves or unhappy about ourselves, right? Think about impending, for one of my clients, the impending idea of retirement is really scary to him. He's been thinking about retirement since he started working, since he was very young. And he keeps worrying about retirement because who will he be when he retires? If his whole job is in dentistry right now, who will he be when he retires? What will that look like? And so for a moment, I want you to imagine, what if we allowed ourselves not to be pushed and forced and squeezed into a singular box defining our identity? But what if we allowed ourselves to be more multifaceted? What if we allowed ourselves to recognize all the parts of us? So instead of forcing ourselves into a box, I'm picturing this wooden crate, right? That's kind of hammered onto with nails on the side, very rigid, right? And even that analogy, if you think about it, a wooden crate, there's no give, there's no room for creativity, there's no room for changing the definition of what that crate is. It's really pretty rigid, forcing ourselves into it. And then what if we imagined ourselves more multifaceted in terms of something like a visual might be a multifaceted gemstone? Risa Williams talks about this in her upcoming book, The Ultimate Self-Esteem Toolkit. She talks about imagining yourself like a multifaceted gemstone, like a diamond. You know, if you look at a diamond on a ring, in an engagement ring, it has many, 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 many facets. What if we imagined ourselves as having many facets? And we all do. But maybe you haven't remembered that in yourself. And so those multiple facets might be interesting to just explore again, because when we keep ourselves so one-dimensional, we get so limited. So what are the other parts of you that define you, that make you up, that color your life? Maybe you're a parent. Maybe you're a painter. Maybe you're a photographer or a hiker. And those aren't one part of you. That one piece, that hiking piece of you doesn't define you, but neither should your profession. I think that gives us so much more room to also find happiness within our profession, when it's not just the one thing, when it's not just the only thing that defines me. Then if something happens during the day that challenges me a little bit, I can still find self-esteem, self-empowerment, self-worth in all the other beautiful aspects of me. And it also allows us to stretch that wooden crate a little bit. So maybe that definition of dentist or doctor doesn't have to be so rigid. Maybe you're the dentist that brings balloon art into your practice, or maybe you're the dancing dentist, or maybe you're the doctor who sings to her patients. When we realize that we've been squeezing ourselves into a box, maybe we even begin to realize that that box wasn't even a box that we created. It was a box, a constructed box for us that we thought we had to squeeze into. I mean, how many of us fit into a box? Last time I looked, nobody. Hey guys, I'm interrupting your podcast episode to let you know about an incredible new program that I'm launching in January of 2023. It is specifically for practitioners in medicine and dentistry to help you rediscover happiness and inner fulfillment within your profession and your life. I remember what it was like for me when years ago I was so depressed and anxious and feeling like I had created and built a treadmill I just couldn't get off of, pushing through every day and wishing my life away. This program is the how of how to find happiness in your practice and in your life. because we know that when we feel good, that's when we can do good. Check out thebizofhappiness.com/radical happiness or click the link in the show notes. I cannot wait to see you there. This idea of imagining yourself as multifaceted allows you to love all the parts of you and maybe explore them a little bit more. Maybe imagine taking that beautiful gemstone. So if we picture a gorgeous gemstone with all these facets, and now imagine each one of those facets representing a different part of you. And your work, what you do in the world, is just a part of it. It's a glorious, beautiful part of it, but it's not the whole. It's just a part of it. It gives you room to also enjoy your family and your travels and your exercise and your lunch. Now imagine you take that beautiful gemstone and maybe you've been staring really hard at the work piece or the next phase of your work, and maybe you give yourself an opportunity to just turn it, to just shift it in the sun and allow another facet of yours to really catch your eye, a part of you that you love. Just picture that for a moment. This beautiful big gemstone that you're holding in your hand. And I like that. Incredible diamond. A really big diamond. I'm talking about the Hope Diamond here. If any of you know about the Hope Diamond, let's say, and then we turn it to the side and we look at a whole new facet and recognize, oh, there's that part of me that I love. Maybe it's a part of me that I've ignored for a long time. Maybe it's a part of you that you remember from your childhood. For me recently, I was remembering my acting as a child when I was in South Africa, when I was really young and I was 8 years old. I actually got paid to act in a very similar to America's Broadway, to New York's Broadway, something similar to that in South Africa. I was on stage and I was paid, and I had this, schedule of performances every single night and multiple times of the weekend, and I loved it. And that's still a facet in the diamond that makes up me, that gemstone that makes up me. And so when things happen, when a part of us that we've kind of honed onto, a definition of ourselves, when something happens in our world to challenge our very rigid definition of it, we get to just turn that diamond and recognize that we're so much more than one thing. I mean, seems obvious, doesn't it? We're so much more than one thing. In fact, there's nobody other than myself that I look at and think, oh, she's just this one thing or he's just this one thing. We give other people that opportunity to live multifaceted lives. Why not give it to ourselves? Why not allow ourselves to be a demonstration for our children and our team members and our patients that we're actually multifaceted? There's actually some really interesting parts of me that make me up, not just this one thing. I think it's a great perspective also when you're changing career paths, or maybe giving you the opportunity to explore changing career paths, or maybe giving you the opportunity to just massage the career path you're on. Maybe you're not leaving it at all, but you're finding yourself integrating some of these other facets into the business that you're in right now. Maybe it's a way to color and create more happiness and excitement where you are. I have a client who said to me recently, I realized I really am not happy in dentistry. I'm here now, but I'm not happy in dentistry, and I don't really want to continue this for the rest of my life. But because of my student loans, I'm really here for the next 10 years. And I said to her, well, let's see how we can now not put off your happiness for 10 years. How can we integrate happiness into these 10 years? Okay, I understand. Sometimes there are decisions we make in our lives. I'm not willing to go bankrupt. I'm not willing to live on less. I'm really comfortable and this is what I'm willing to tolerate, but I need to pay these bills. So right now I'm in this job. So how can we bring those beautiful happiness moments into the job where you are? What are we going to do about that? And this idea of taking this beautiful gemstone diamond and looking, what other parts of me do I love? What do I love to do? And where are those moments in my life that light me up? And once we identify those beautiful facets on the gemstone, how can we now infuse that into our workplace? One of the most beautiful things that we have the opportunity to do in work is to meet many different people every single day in medicine and in dentistry. We keep meeting new people. And the plethora of opportunities to find people who connect with us on another level. Maybe it is something that you love music. Well, I can guarantee you there are a lot of patients who play music or love music, and you can connect with in that perspective. You can play music of your choice overhead in the office. You can allow yourself to go dancing after work and enjoy using your whole body with music. Maybe music is how you stretch your body so that you can be more present and strong for what you do. Or maybe a part of you, a facet of you, is connecting with people. You know, your love to connect other people to one another. Once again, in our profession in medicine dentistry, there's such an awesome opportunity for that. And I know some dentists who've made entire new careers out of just connecting people she knows in her network with one another. So what is that about you that creates who you are? That beautiful, almost like a tapestry, if you will. Maybe a gemstone is too limited. Maybe there's a tapestry that all these beautiful threads, different colored threads, make up who you are. And recognizing it isn't just one thing. It isn't just one part of you. And then when things happen with one aspect of who we are, it doesn't feel so disastrous. It doesn't feel so impending when we're about to complete our career or take a new turn in our career paths, or something happens that really shakes us within that one sphere. So I'd love for you over the next week to really think about, what are all those beautiful threads that make up who you are? And maybe you already celebrate them. Maybe you already recognize, no, I am not just this one thing. I am not just Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy. I've got all these other beautiful parts of me. Well, then maybe this next week you really celebrate how they've all colored the beautiful tapestry that is you. And what does that mean? Which parts of that beautiful tapestry would you like to explore a little more that maybe you've acknowledged as a part of you, but you have forgotten to really celebrate and explore it and put time aside to enjoy that part of you more? You know, it's so interesting. As we go through this life, we learn. We learn parts of ourselves that maybe we put away for a while, and we recognize the value of them later on. And it's okay. It's totally okay to, have your goals and your mindset focused on something to create something beautiful. And sometimes it takes our really focused attention in one area of our lives to really make it happen. And maybe there's a part of your life that really needed and required your focus for a while. But my question to you now is it time to be open to remembering all the parts of you, or some other parts that maybe haven't had the light shown on them recently? I celebrate how beautiful we really are as human beings. Sometimes I think we're so complex, but it's in the complexity that there's so much beauty as well. Maybe it's time we celebrate that. Thank you, my friends. Thanks for joining me on this episode and for just, thinking about who we are a little bit differently and what parts of us can bring us more happiness. And remember, until next time, when you feel good, that's when you can do good. Bye-bye.